That's great.
That the basement, are we started or?
On-air light is on, but the TV is not. We're on now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town Council of Newmarket, New Hampshire for July 19th, 2023 to order. And we will begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councillor White, if you would lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Item 2 on our agenda is roll call. All councillors are present and accounted for. And item number 3 is our public forum. And is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Just waiting to see if someone comes in.
Just burst to the door.
Yeah, burst to the door. Seeing none, I will close public forum at 7:10.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
since you had a non-public session, that would be in order to seal the minutes, to accept the motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session.
Awesome. So item 4 is council to consider acceptance of minutes. I'll do 2 things there. Item number 1 will be to accept a motion to seal the minutes of our non-public session.
So move. I will second.
Awesome. And do we have any discussion on whether or not to seal those?
Councilor Blaisbrook.
Aye.
Councilor Lamatina.
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue.
Aye.
Councilor White.
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone.
Aye.
Councilor Ward.
Aye.
Councilor Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. And we have one set of meeting minutes from the June 21st, 2023 council meeting, and I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion or corrections?
If I
Counselor?
remember correctly about the, what was it, the cable finance agreement, I think Councillor White voted against it.
Yes.
I think it says on here that it was voted unanimously approved.
Okay.
So that needs to be amended.
Awesome. Okay. Any other corrections? Okay. If you could call the roll.
Councilor Blaisbrook.
Aye.
Councilor Lamatina.
Aye.
Councilor Dornblue.
Aye.
Councilor White.
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone.
Aye.
Councilor Ward.
Aye.
Councilor Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Okay, and we'll move right on to number 5, the report of the town manager.
Thank you, Madam
Number
Chair.
2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, an update on the forced main break in the Liverpool. I am happy to say that over the weekend they were able to repair it. From what we were discussions I had with the Director of Environmental Services last Thursday, it didn't sound good, but Friday was much better, and as they said, Saturday I got a call early that they were able to complete the repair. How long it lasts, I don't want to promise anything, but he said it's, you know, they put in all the gravel above it and compacted it down again. Another thing, that during that time though, even when it was the removal of the pipe, the levels of the bacteria did not go that high, and part of that reason, like the weather was both a hindrance but also helped us with the situation. It was difficult to fix the pipe. However, the amount of water that we had going through the river got the bacteria levels down by diluting it. So that helped a lot. I just want to commend that department. They were working tirelessly over the last few weeks ever since that happened. And now we have some time to plan a better response and a more permanent response than we thought we were going to. So kudos to the Environmental Services Department. The next for fiscal year 23 financials, June is the end of the fiscal year. With 100% of the current fiscal year behind us, we did well with the budget. We expended 89% of our budget currently. In comparison, we expended 93% for the same period last year. Please note this number will change, as there are some year-end invoices still being entered and one payroll was not reflected in those numbers. Revenues continue to be healthy. We collected approximately $1.4 million more in revenue than we did at this point last year. Motor vehicle registrations continue to be below anticipated figures, but building permits were 401% above anticipated. That was a mixture of, if you remember, we did review and change the fee schedule, but also a number of building permits were pulled this year. Finally, I am right now going through the citizen survey. The citizen survey has been completed, received 451 responses, and I'm currently going through the data and should have a presentation for the next meeting. I thought it was going to be easy to go through all that data. It's not as easy as I thought, but I'm getting closer to it. And that, I also have on the agenda tonight a transfer of funds and requesting a suspension of rules for the council. What it was, if the council remembers, last year, the Municipal Budget Committee added an additional $50,000 to the operating budget to a contribution to the Fire Capital Reserve Fund that nobody requested. The fire department didn't request it, the council didn't request it, it wasn't in my proposed budget. They just added $50,000. And at that time, we explained that we can transfer those funds to other departments.
Okay.
And the recommendation at that time, we had a recommendation at the time, and we're doing that now, is to use that to implement the salary survey that was done, and to correct salaries that are off. So we're going to put that in the merit pool in order to correct salaries. And that's all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Any questions?
Oh,
Councilwoman?
if I recall correctly, the Budget Committee, the intent was for something to do with leasing vehicles. So
Yeah.
that was the intent.
That was the intent, but we already have that in the budget. It's already there. They didn't, if we explained it at the deliberative session, we explained it to the Budget Committee that we have enough funds to pay off the leases for the fire equipment. And there was a confusion on the Budget Committee side on why they were doing it, and that's why the council didn't recommend the additional funds, but at the time I said, well, this is a good way to implement the changes.
Are there any other questions? I just had one. Also, kudos to everybody involved in working to get the break fixed. I know you mentioned that this is a temporary solution, right? Has there been any conversation around what a permanent solution might entail?
Yeah, the permanent solution, one idea would be to get easements through the Bryant Rock area, to put the main through there, over the bridge instead of in the river, and then through
Grandmother's house.
yeah, through grandmother's house, through the Newmarket Mills property. As I mentioned in a previous meeting, that when we looked at even putting the temporary setup on the bridge, there's issues with the bridge.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to address that before we address the main through that area. It's common to use bridges. It's probably one of those things you never realize, but next time you look at a bridge, there's usually a big pipe on it.
Yeah.
No.
And that's what it is, sewer or water. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is that far enough in the future that it would be in next year's budget?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it might probably even a year or two, because we'd have to do engineering and, yeah. That's why it was good that we're able to do a repair
Yeah.
instead of we had the temporary one going through all that area.
Yeah.
With unbudgeted money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. Awesome. Just want to make sure, give everybody a chance to ask questions. Okay. And the next item on the agenda then is department reports. Are there any comments or questions or discussions about any of the department reports? Anything anybody wanted to bring up? Okay. I had a couple things. One, I'm always very delighted to see not delighted, but I really appreciate the Newmarket Police Department reports and their emphasis sort of on both the community policing and the mental health work that they're doing. And I just think that it speaks to it speaks to the level of care that our officers and our departments are taking to make, just to make sure that, that people really are safe and protected. And I just appreciate the stance that they're taking. So I just wanted to say that.
I can add to that. I'd just like to state that when everything came up about a few years ago with issues with police departments, it was interesting here because a lot of our police department, a lot of the ones locally, have extremely professional staffs and officers with some kind of college degree. Their associates are mostly bachelors. I can tell you there's communities around here that some police officers have JDs. And they do spend a lot of time dealing with mental issues and helping with that as well. So that we hear so many negatives in the press, but it's not so much a local issue, and we don't see that as much here because they do take such care. And we always can do better, but we do have some assistance there.
That's a good group of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about the department reports?
No.
Okay. Then we will move on to ordinances in the second reading. And we have one this evening, and that is resolution.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Are we skipping committee reports?
Did I skip committee reports?
Yes.
I am so sorry. My bad. You guys, thank you so much for, thanks for that correction, Scott. Are there any committee
You mean
reports
Counselor
this evening?
Blackstone?
I do. Council Blackstone, please forgive me. Are there any committee reports this evening? It's been a long day. Counselor
I
Ward.
have one, but if you want to go first.
No, go ahead.
Conservation Commission met on the 13th. We were supposed to have a presentation by Casella Waste Management, but they were unfortunately not able to come. And I read the town's letter, and we talked briefly about the Lamprey River Advisory letter to the department, and I read our response back to them, and I read our response back to the Conservation Commission. And just checking. Yeah, no, it was a pretty quick meeting, nothing too crazy. Yeah, the Lamprey River thing did come up, and we did read out our response letter. I think I forgot to read the Department of Energy's response back, but yeah.
The commission, yeah.
Come in, yeah. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Counselor Blackstone.
So we had the planning board meeting met, and
That was a to-do.
so previous month, we had a notice kind of from that they were interested in building a 55-plus community. But in the last planning board meeting, we have an official application that was received by the planning, and they have done a great deal of work to comply with all the Newmarket regulations. The meeting was held downstairs because there's significant input from the local community who perceive this as kind of an industrial scale building in a residential neighborhood. If anyone is interested, on July 29th at 8:30 in the morning, we're doing a walkthrough. So there will be a demonstration of where the buildings are, where the landscaping's going. We're going to have balloons. One of the big concerns is this building is 35 feet tall. There's going to be balloons up showing you the height of the building. This is part of the due diligence from the planning board. And then on another thing, if you remember the old, I don't know, the train station down by the golf course.
Rockingham Junction.
Yeah, right. It was purchased by a guy from Newfield, and he wanted to put an office in it, but he was thinking he would renovate it and add structure to it to make it so that he could then sell it as a restaurant or something. And as part of that, he wanted to get the parking, which is on the other side of the train station. If any of you go down that trail, there's a parking lot over there. He's decided now that he doesn't want to do any of that stuff. He's just going to have it as his personal office. So he's just going to, the foundation of the building is under some hydraulic pressure that's collapsing the foundation. There's some water pressure issue. So he's picking the building up and he's moving it over kind of the center of that lot on a new foundation. But the building now is staying original. He's not changing the size of the building. And of course, that makes a lot of other things easier. It makes the septic system much smaller and, you know, a lot of things like that. And so we gave him approval to do that, and he's saying that he wants to start on that almost immediately. He's thinking of starting it in August. So that's going to become like a, you know, his own project. He has a little software company.
May I ask a question on that, or just a flag for the,
Yeah.
I don't know if the planning board is aware that the town border marker, boundary marker is in the basement.
Yeah.
And it's a crime actually to move it without permission. I know somebody we had a situation probably 10 years ago.
As you know, Goldblatt
Yeah.
is on.
Okay,
is on
just
the
making
planning
sure.
board, and
Yeah.
has already discussed that.
Phew.
Yeah,
I was worried about that.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Councilor Blackstock? Okay. Any other committee reports? Councilor Blaisberg.
So the Arts, Culture, Tourism Commission met, and they have applied for a grant that's kind of around community engagement to put another pocket park, not too unlike the one they put next to Johnny Boston's, in front of the Willie House, with murals, tables to sit at. I think that they sent that out last week. And then there's some interest from them to, I know we had a workshop about community engagement already, but there's some interest from them to talk, or to have another workshop or something to have a similar conversation again, to see what can be done to improve community engagement.
And you mean with the council or just a workshop session on their own?
With the council,
Okay,
yes.
okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Um,
Sorry. It's
That's-
not technically a committee, but as part of the community engagement thing, I recently interviewed Steve and with Tim M from Channel 13, and we're also trying to schedule interviews with to the rest of councilors with as Councilor Conley and Councilor Facebook. If anyone else would like to talk about, be on camera and just talk a little bit about what got you interested in being town council, what you like about Newmarket, what your hopes are for Newmarket, just let me know. We can schedule something. Okay, nothing, yeah.
Was that,
That was the end of it.
okay, just checking. Any questions for Councilor Blaisberg? Okay. And are there any other committee reports? Okay. Now I'll go to ordinances in the second reading. And the first resolution is Resolution 2022-2023-50 for the town hall cabling work. And I would accept a motion to approve this resolution.
I will make a motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. And town manager, would you like to speak to this?
Sure.
Okay.
It's basically the background and the information is in the report. We have some significant issues with the network cabling in town hall. And everything from there's some cables that are broken and we don't have enough bandwidth to we have old cables that are just aren't used that we need to get rid of. So this is a proposal to upgrade that to speed up our network system. It's very important for our financial software because everything is done, that's done in a secure manner. So we're recommending $7,000 be taken out of the Technology Capital Reserve Fund to do so.
Okay. Excellent. Any questions or discussion? Okay. If you could call the roll, please.
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamatina,
Aye.
Council Dornbluth,
Aye.
Council White,
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conlon.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Okay, and that is the only resolution or ordinance in the second reading. Item 9 on our agenda is to consider nominations, appointments, and elections, and we have 2 appointments today. The first one is for Joshua Scobland to the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Commission, transferring from a full member to an alternate member with a term expiring April 2026, and I would accept a motion to approve this application.
I'll make a motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Mr. Scobland isn't here. Is there any discussion on his candidacy? Okay. And he's currently an alternate, correct?
No.
He wants to become an alternate.
Oh, he wants to become an alternate. Why do they think this is transferred?
He's
Okay.
currently a full member.
He's currently full. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well then, when if you could call the roll, please.
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamatina,
Aye.
Council Dornbluth,
Aye.
Council White,
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. And our next appointment is Jamie Nauer to the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Commitment with a term expiring April 2024. And do I have a motion to approve this appointment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Excellent. And do we have any questions or discussion on Jamie?
They have great handwriting.
Okay. Excellent. They've got background in education, and
hope so. Yeah.
and in social media. I think they'll be great. So, Jamie, thanks for applying. If there is no other discussion, if you could call the roll, please, Wendy.
Council Glazebrook,
Aye.
Council Lamatina,
Aye.
Council Dornbluth,
Aye.
Council White,
Aye.
Council Blackstone,
Aye.
Council Ward,
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Okay. Moving right on to item 10 is resolutions and ordinances in the first reading, and there are 3 this evening. And the first is Resolution 2023-2024-1, annual lease payment for 2 international dump trucks with plow equipment. Okay. Whereas the Public Works Department is paying for 2 dump trucks with plow equipment through a lease agreement with Tax-Exempt Leasing Corp., and whereas the annual payment for the 2 dump trucks is $50,783.97 to be paid using the Public Works Department Capital Reserve account, and whereas the Public Works Department Capital Reserve Fund has a balance of $136,585 as of May 31st, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the town manager is authorized to pay the Tax-Exempt Leasing Corp. Annual invoice for the 2 international dump trucks with plow equipment for $50,783.97 due August 15, 2023 with funds from the Public Works Department Capital Reserve Fund. Period. That is a long sentence. Sponsored by Chair Conley for request. First reading, July 19th, 2023. Okay. The second resolution in the first reading is 2023-2024-2, paving improvements. Whereas the town has extended the paving contract with Bell and Flynn LLC for another year, and whereas the following roads are on the road management plan schedule for this road, Shanda Drive and Turkey Ridge Road, and whereas the town budgeted $160,000 toward this expenditure in the operating budget, and an additional $250,000 was budgeted in the capital reserve fund to fund the road management plan that was adopted. The capital reserve fund had a balance of $276,891 as of May 31st, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that the town manager may enter into any agreements with Bell and Flynn LLC with a dollar amount not to exceed $410,000, with $160,000 coming from the operating budget, $250,000 coming from the capital reserve fund. Sponsored by Chair Conley by request. First reading July 19th. 2023. And finally, we have Resolution 2023-2024-3, transferring $50,000 from the fire equipment capital reserve contribution to the merit pool. And the town manager requests a suspension of the rules. Should we do the first reading before you request the suspension, or would you like to request the suspension now?
First, do the first reading, then we suspend the rules.
Okay. Okay. Whereas the town has budgeted certain amounts of funds that are used for general municipal operational purposes, and whereas the municipal budget committee added $50,000 to the fire equipment capital reserve fund against the wishes of the town council, and whereas it is the recommendation of the town manager that $50,000 be transferred from the fire equipment capital reserve contribution to the merit pool, now therefore be it resolved by the Newmarket Town Council that an amount of $50,000 is transferred from account 01495-61200 Capital Reserve Fire Department to account 014-155-51990 Merit Increase Pool. Sponsored by Chair Conley by request. First reading, July 19th, 2023.
Madam Chair, I'd request that the council suspend its rules to act on this evening.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules to act on this evening.
I'm so moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion on whether to suspend the rules? Yes.
I take exception with the comment against the wishes of the town council. The town council did approve an amended budget.
No. Yeah, I apologize. We can amend that.
So slightly separate than whether to suspend the rules or not?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
We will totally get to that.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so if there's no other discussion on whether to suspend the rules, when you could call the roll, please.
Council Glazebrook?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
May I address Council Lamatina's? My
Well,
apologies.
do I have to say it again?
I
or-
did not mean I did not mean to come off as angry or anything like that. And if the council wishes to change the wording, I just wanted to, when in writing it, we wanted to make it clear that the council did not. The budget committee added $50,000 above and beyond the council's budget.
I forgive you.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're even, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
So we have now moved to suspend the rules, so now I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution. I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2023-2024-3, transferring $50,000 from fire equipment capital reserve contribution to the merit pool.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023/2024-03, transfer $50,000 to fire equipment capital reserve.
I second
From
that
capital
motion.
reserve.
Excellent. Is there any discussion? Didn't we?
Yeah, so the budget committee I realized they didn't do it at what the town council was expecting. It was above and beyond, but they were very clear about what they want this money to be for, so that's what, yeah. Yeah, I think the budget committee was very clear about what they intended this money to be used for. I know that we're not obligated to do it, but just something I wish to point out.
Just for clarification, one of the, much like you just had at the first reading with those, for the public works vehicles, what we've been doing is putting money, because for years we put money in capital reserve funds to buy equipment, buy trucks. Problem is, trucks got much more expensive than it costs to be able to buy through just contributions to capital reserve fund. So a number of years ago, we began leasing vehicles and equipment by withdrawing the money from the capital reserve funds. Honestly, the money that should be, anytime you have a lease, it should be actually in your operating budget, but we had so much money in the capital reserve funds that we started withdrawing from there first to offset that. There is more than, the fire equipment capital reserve fund has more than enough money, and I knew the concern at the time of the budget committee was that whether or not we would have enough money to pay for the equipment. We have more than enough in the capital reserve fund to pay for any leases that we currently have, and that's the reason why it was. We understood that the reason why, but the budget committee at that time didn't ask the fire chief or finance or staff if they wanted it, they needed it. So at the time, I recommended that this money could be used to implement the salary survey that was being done, because there are some positions that are behind, and I knew, trying to remember the conversation, I know it was a while back, I think there was some acceptance of the understanding of that, to try to get people where they need to be. I wouldn't, if we weren't in such a tight market, I wouldn't be asking for as much as we are, but we are starting to have difficulties filling positions. Public Works is down, they changed their scheduling to remove a position to increase the salaries of their employees because they couldn't fill it. But they're able to now, they're not as afraid they're gonna lose somebody now.
Yep.
So that's my big concern, and when I saw this money, I was like, this is a good opportunity to address those issues for the non-union personnel that we may need to do, so.
Any other questions or discussion? Councilor Blaisberg.
So by voting on this, what actually, are we just voting to move the money to this pool and then there would be some other decision made on what they're going to do with the money?
So,
I know it'll be in this pool at that point.
yeah, by charter, the town manager sets salaries. So once the money is appropriated, I would go through and determine what salary, put people in the right salary brackets, and then from merit, determine the distribution of that. When I say I mean department heads and I sit down and discuss it and see what we have for the overall operating budget. But the charter states the manager sets salaries and pay.
So, other questions or discussion? I'll say that I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good. I think it's a good move. I do think that we've had, like I said, some issues of, getting good people and filling positions, and inflation's been really a bear. And if we have an opportunity to support the people that are helping, make sure the town keeps running, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good use of the funds. Any other comments? Okay, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Blaisberg?
Aye.
Council Lamatina?
Aye.
Council Dornblue?
Aye.
Council White?
Aye.
Council Blackstone?
Aye.
Council Ward?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. All right, we are on to item 11, new business and correspondence. First item is correspondence to the town council. Town manager, is there any correspondence?
There is. You received a letter from the Ramoses. I can read that. Dear Ms. Connolly and the members of the Newmarket Town Council, we are addressing you with great concern about the issue of flying a flag other than the American flag on our town flagpoles. Earlier this June, I addressed our town manager by phone, email, and visit in person. was not available, concerning that the fact that the American flag had been removed from the pole where the gazebo was in replacement of another flag. He replied by email agreeing with placing the American flag back on its pole, and unfortunately placed the offending flag right underneath it. Taxpayers' money was used in manpower, not to mention equipment, needed to perform these tasks. Kindly advise who makes these decisions, who is consulted, and ultimately why are we agreeing to such an affront when so many citizens are not in agreement with this agenda. Particularly during these very sensitive, extremely divisive times, the town should stay out of politics in the name of inclusion. These actions create unintended consequences. We respectfully ask that moving forward, the town displays only the American flag, the one we pledge allegiance to, as well as the state, town, and military flags exclusively, not the flavor of the month. Kindly discuss at July 19, 2023 meeting. Sincerely, Maria F. Ramos and Jose A. Ramos, 125 Main Street.
Okay. Are there any comments or discussion? Councillor Ward.
Is it allowed to comment on the letter? Okay. Well, first I want to point out they are correct in that the flag code says that the U.S. flag should be placed above other flags. And I agree that, and I'm a former Boy Scout, so I've held the flag on many Memorial Day events. However, it shouldn't be divisive or political to be inclusive. People of all walks of life live in town, and taking down the pride flag implies we are ashamed of them or don't want to see them, which is a sentiment I wholeheartedly disagree with. I also reject the idea that inclusion for all is a flavor of the month, or the appreciation or respect for the American flag, which is flown around the world to symbolize equality, liberty, and justice, can be threatened or denigrated by a rainbow. And as to the unintended consequences from flying the pride flag, I fail to see any except upsetting people who are already against gay, lesbian, trans, or bisexual people, and their disapproval is something that I can live with, and I think the town of Newmarket can easily withstand. And as to the town staying out of politics in the name of inclusion, what other body should be dealing with politics? As a councillor, a citizen, I say putting the pride flag up fully demonstrates this town's politics. To each their own, and to all people are created equal. And finally, being LGBTQ isn't an agenda or a lifestyle.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Are there any other comments or discussion? Councillor Lamattina.
I wholeheartedly agree with Councilor Ward. Earlier, we had a little discussion with the town manager. There is no policy currently on flag flying, and I would ask the town manager to develop a policy, but I would also hope that the policy would include inclusion, include all people.
Thank you, Councillor Lamattina. Councillor Dornblow.
I want to thank Councillor Ward for his words. I think they were well placed and much appreciated by me. Also to relate, my daughter and her friends were very appreciative of the seeing the flag on the flagpole, and I'm sure she was, and they were not the only ones. So I think it was a good sign that the town sent, that we are indeed an inclusive community, and we're proud to be.
Any other comments? Oh,
I just want the technical part about why the American flag was down at that point, just so the public understands. There was a mistake that, if anybody realized, we have a floodlight, so the flag can be flown 24 hours a day. With the taking down of the arbor part, the floodlight came down, and the flag was taken down just because we wanted to make sure it was lit. And when it was determined that it was down, that we immediately put it back up. So that was the reason. There was no that was the only reason why the American flag went down. So we did honor it the correct way at that time.
thank you for that clarification, and we appreciate the town's dedication to making sure that we're flying the flag under the rules of making sure that it's respected. Other comments or discussion?
Just out of curiosity, who decides what flags go up?
So I'm trying to remember how we even came up with that. We put that one up in June. It was a number of years ago, I think. I don't know if it was the council, like a bunch of councils talking to me. I said, yeah, it's easy. We can just put one up. And we did. And that's when it started, like many municipalities did.
Do we put other flags up at different other
I've never been asked.
Yeah, okay.
So
So they don't
that's,
put up a green flag
No.
on Halloween or
No,
St.
no.
Patrick's Day.
no, and to be honest, I know some cities do.
Yeah.
I know-
Chicago dyes the river green.
Right, and I know Dover has a big Greek, for Greek Independence Day, has a celebration and flies a Greek flag, and
Yeah.
so to be honest, it's more inclusive and celebrates the heritage of the community by doing so.
Yeah, I was thinking by having more flags, it
Yeah.
might moderate that somewhat.
Right,
Yeah.
and I said, and the city of Somersworth they had a controversy that they have a small park that they have one of those old 10 Commandments monuments on there. So Somersworth instead decided to call it a citizen's place, and they have 2 flagpoles in which you're allowed to fly another country's, to honor heritage or something, flag there as well as the city flag, as well as the 10 Commandments are there. So
Thank you. Other comments? I did want to echo Councilor Ward's sentiments and the sentiments of other folks who have spoken. I'm very proud that that Newmarket has made the decision to be an inclusive community, and and I agree that it shouldn't be political to signal to folks that they're welcome. So I appreciate that. I also would echo the request that we have an official policy that we can put in place that we can use to make decisions about what goes up on the flagpole. Okay. And with that, our next item on the agenda is closing comments by town councilors. Do any councilors have any closing comments? Councilor Dornbloh.
I didn't include this under committee reports because it's technically not a committee report, but the chair and the town manager and I received communication from from Coast, our public transit company that we are supporting as a town, to invite the town to participate in essentially a community meeting to find, how can Coast serve the community better. And the meeting hasn't been scheduled yet, but it would be in early August. And we don't have a meeting until then or before then, but I think it would be important for the town council to have a conversation about public transit, especially since Wildcat Transit has discontinued Route 5, so there's no more regular connectivity to Durham, and the only remaining public transit that we have is on Route 7, which is operated by Coast and takes people into Exeter and from there, or not from there, but in that direction around Great Bay to Portsmouth. I'm wondering, what we would like to see as a town, and how we might want to communicate that to Coast so that we can inform them with what our goals are going forward.
And you said that has yet to be scheduled?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other closing comments?
Two
Councilor
things. I would be very interested if you could let us know when that's going to be held. I know the Energy and Environment Committee has been talking about how can we improve transportation, what is it that we have to do. So it's one of the things on this. Okay. I do have some other things. Okay. August 4th is the Backyard Bash. I had a thought that maybe if we had some kind of a booth there advertising the different positions on the different committees that are available, that may be some way of reaching out to the community. I don't know if anybody's interested in doing that.
I'll be willing to do it, yeah.
I would too, and could we use the Channel 13 guys or some kind
Absolutely.
of... Okay.
And what would need to happen to move that ahead? Is that a request that?
I'll talk with the rec director to see what we need to get a space there.
Good.
Yeah, but just put up a table and say, look, we have these vacancies on these boards. If you want to sign up,
Yeah,
here's a form and bring it back, bring it back to town hall.
I got the table, I got a little pop-up tent we could do, and
If we could, maybe we could like, if we had like a laptop, we could show some slides of stuff that various committees have done. So, like McKellen Dam would be probably be nice, so.
Talk to the rec director.
Awesome.
I do have one other follow-up for the
Okay.
town manager. So the facility study, are we going to be talking about that soon?
We're on schedule. I had a meeting with the the architects this week. The deliverables are we should get a, on my calendar, I do have it right here. Sorry. I'm supposed to receive on August 8th or 7th a preliminary program and space needs assessment, and then we should have everything by the end of August, which would include the final report as well as the draft cost estimates.
Okay, cool. Good.
But yes, it was coincidentally, we met on Monday. I did see the preliminary, when I say preliminary too, I mean this is very blocks of this where it could go here in that situation with the recommendations for police and fire, and police and town hall, and now potentially another facility because of issues at the police department.
And
I'd like to
Councilor
ask
Blackstone?
maybe a kind of a follow-up question. Are we still working with these guys on the gateways?
We have not. We are doing the first, planning is starting the first part of the one of the gateways with the North Main Street by rezoning it. So we are moving
Right.
forward with that.
Yeah.
That's the consulting work that we're out to bid right now. So we are moving forward on that part. The South Gateway is sort of on hold until we get more buy-in from the stakeholders down there. And the West we'll address when we get to get the first part done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is moving forward. It's just it's out of the consultants aren't active anymore. We're going with other areas by doing the rezoning and that kind of situation.
And any other, Councilor Glaze?
I don't think there's another time that would be a good time to have a discussion about the possibility of another workshop with the Arts, Culture, Tourism Commission, if people are interested in that, or what alternatives might be for kind of having a dialogue with them, because
One thing I was thinking is that maybe if it's a community involvement, maybe it's a separate committee with representatives from other committees, because it's not just arts and tourism that has the community outreach issues. Planning board has issues with trying to get people at meetings, unless it's a huge project like that one. Conservation probably has issues with having projects like their projects. I'm wondering if it should be a bigger discussion or some kind of subcommittee of the committees to start discussion on how do you do it and what problems do you see.
My understanding was that the commission was wanted to engage the council in helping to formulate some kind of community engagement approach. Is that correct?
yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
But other committees
Yeah.
may also have
Yeah.
good ideas. And I know we just had the workshop not too long ago that was open to the public, so maybe a slightly different approach, like a larger conversation.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, is it, I mean, I guess, is it so people get more involved in the arts and tourism in the community? Is that what
that's
they're
not
looking for?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I know that there was a conversation briefly at the park opening with Brian, Katana, Deborah, and I. I think it was more just maybe they weren't so aware that we had our workshop
Oh.
and that we have been working on community engagement. So it's something that they are also speaking about.
But I guess this gets into the area of the council, and I think it's great that everybody wants to get involved in community engagement, but the council doesn't go to other committees to get input on everything. Like, I think if you want to get, I think you need to get everybody's input on community engagement. That's why I think that a bigger committee may be the better solution than just meeting with the Arts Commission. Yeah.
So just expanding the scope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Expanding the scope.
And so would you see that as a separate, like, would you see that just as a separate committee with representatives from the other?
Exactly. I would say like maybe 2 from each, from a set of committees, and then meet and say, okay, look, we're trying to improve community engagement. How do we do it? The big thing that's going to be coming, going to need a lot of community engagement is the master plan update. And before you start it, we want to make sure how do you get the people to jump in? So I think maybe that's a way to do it versus just one-on-one with each committee. And then you get buy-in that way.
I kind of like the idea of one committee, one town committee kind of taking the lead,
Right.
rather than asking 2 people from the planning board, 2 people from the budget committee or whatever committee to participate in a conversation, but then who's going to take that? Who's going to move that forward? And if the Arts and Tourism Commission is willing to to move that issue forward, that might be a way to actually make some headway, with input from obviously from everybody else.
The only thing is you have to look at what the directive of what each commission is supposed to do.
Sure.
So the Arts and Tourism Commission is to promote arts and tourism, and that's because I mean, you could even say planning board has a big part of that with the master planning process. Council has a big part of the community engagement because of getting input there. Budget committee would because of input on the budget. But I think, and I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you don't want to have too many.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's by giving it. A committee should be focused on what they're supposed to be, what their initial charge is, and then, if there's need for additional duties, either change the commission or create another committee to oversee it. So, especially if you want to have a large committee to do it.
And so, Councilor Dornbloth, are you suggesting to like a shift to the charter, or?
I'm suggesting
Somebody
that
else.
we rather than that we identify a committee, and maybe it is the Arts and Tourism Commission because there's some willingness to do that, and maybe that requires an amendment to the commission's charter in order to seat that activity there. But we identify an existing standing committee with a membership to lead that process of how do we increase community engagement in the town, and that committee then come back to the council with a proposal. That does not preclude other community members from participating in that conversation. It just ensures that there is a committee that has a responsibility to carry that ball.
And I think what I heard you saying, Town Manager, is that creating sort of an ad hoc kind of community engagement committee and charging them specifically with that would be the mechanism.
It could be either or. I mean, if the council wishes to have it given to another committee, then absolutely. But I mean, I'm just suggesting that maybe if it's only one committee, that they maybe only focused on their portion of their charge. Like it could be community engagement, but for the arts and tourism. But you also have community engagement for the council, for the planning board, for other entities in the community. That I think that the council, when they were at the workshop, was trying to get community engagement through everything and explain and try to educate the public on what's being done. So that's why I was suggesting maybe if it was a committee of representatives, you would get input from all of the boards.
Any good thoughts?
I guess it kind of depends on the objective, right? Generally, I think there's agreement, consensus that we need to increase awareness in the community as to how the town operates, opportunities for engagement. So we have, but where is that housed? Who is responsible for identifying opportunities and for actually implementing them? And maybe the Arts and Tourism Commission is not the right place for that. But if there is a momentum there, then I think we should grab onto that. And I know that. So the concern I have with an ad hoc committee is that it has to find itself. It has to develop itself as a committee, and it is an additional meeting that people have to go to and commit to. So I'm a little bit worried that we don't take advantage of existing momentum, and maybe a way to kind of capture both ideas is to create an ad hoc committee that functions as a subcommittee of the commission, of the Arts and Tourism Commission. Or we charge the Arts and Tourism Commission with the development of a community engagement strategy for the town, and we can make some provisions as far as how that should go. What process should be utilized. Engaging existing committees and understanding what their concerns are and what their requirements are. Those kinds of things, but I think it would be good for one committee to really take this bull by the horns and run with it.
I think the question that I have, I honestly I don't have the Arts and Tourism Committee's kind of charter up. I like the idea, Councillor Dornbluth, of leveraging sort of momentum, and I like that I like the idea of charging one specific group with coming up with an engagement strategy, and I definitely hear the hesitance and appreciate the hesitance to encumber people with additional meetings. I have some hesitancy of sort of without of adding that to the arts and culture and tourism plate, just because it feels a little more meta. It definitely feels like it does reach. We've had some of this conversation about trying to find folks for energy and environment,
Right.
trying to get people interested in planning board or budget, or kind of all the things that are kind of going on collectively, and that feels like it might be a little bit farther afield of what we've what we've charged arts and tourism with. We certainly are, we can as a council make the decision to change that charter, but I would feel, given sort of their focus, I'd feel a little bit nervous about throwing something kind of else onto their plate, since they seem to have done that work of finding themselves, and they're moving ahead and doing some great stuff. So I'd be a little bit nervous about stealing some of that energy for the purposes of something else.
Fair enough.
I do have their charge.
You get the charge. Awesome. I knew you were fine. I knew you were looking for it.
The Arts and Tourism Committee shall perform the following functions: study, consider, and recommend to the town council and the town manager or designee general policies for arts and tourism in the town of Newmarket. And 2, develop and promote programs, forums, and exhibits that highlight the talent and active art-related venues currently existing within our town.
Okay. Yeah, that feels pretty focused.
Yeah.
Councillor White.
I just want to say the irony is not lost on me that we're speaking of forming a committee so that we can find out why people don't join them.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just think the irony is very, it's kicking me in the side. That this is one of those things that we're discussing to do with the people we've already asked and are volunteering in some way, shape, or form for the town of Newmarket to perform a specific duty to take more.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around
Yeah.
doing that.
I agree, definitely. I think I've tossed around the word of workshop because it's like it's a one-off thing. It doesn't require anybody to be there if people want to be there. And the trouble with that is we already did it. And I don't think anybody from the public ended up coming, right? It was,
Well, I think we're using the term workshop. Council has
A little
workshops,
loosely, yeah.
right. The council rules for workshops are, it's a chance for council to discuss a topic that is not as official business, like the vote or something, like we had that. Sometimes we have workshops on, we'll get a presentation on something from water and sewer, or,
what was the session that we had on community engagement?
that was a workshop of the council.
Yeah.
Public would not be able to speak at that.
Oh,
No, it's a council workshop.
they could have just attended?
They could have attended and sat in the audience, but it's the
Okay.
council.
I misunderstood.
Yeah,
when-
it's the
when-
it's the council's opportunity to discuss in a
Right.
free-flowing matter,
I understand that.
other than an official business meeting. So that's the difference.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
it's not a
sense.
yeah, the Arts Commission could have came and sat there, but they couldn't participate unless the council allowed it.
And so, see, then would there be an opportunity to have a single larger conversation that would invite members of the different committees and the public to just have like what would you call it? It's like a community forum or community conversation about engagement?
So by charter, here's a
Okay.
tool that we can use.
Okay.
By charter, annually, the chairs must meet. I don't think they've done it since the pandemic.
Okay.
But all the chairs of the committees have to have one meeting to discuss. That may be the opportunity to kick it off. And have the chairs of the standing committees meet, and they have to meet with, I have to be the facilitator. But it's to discuss topics that may come up, so that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, great solution. Cool.
Have all the chairs meet.
Would that work?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that work?
I think that's good.
I'll try and think
Awesome.
of one. Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't done that since the pandemic,
No.
and we don't have one scheduled.
Nope, but we can get one going.
Yay! They'll be delighted.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other closing comments? Okay. Well, if there, seeing none, our next meeting is August 16th, 2023. And if there are no other closing comments, then I will consider us adjourned.